I'm not an imposter because I'm actually just talking about my life. But my mind will say to me, they don't want to hear from you.
Want to be the first to solve one of the biggest problems threatening our planet?
We're the plucky underdogs, fighting against the giants who produce tons upon tons of single-use plastic. Whatever the weather.
You know, this business was started by myself and my two best friends who essentially went to Thailand and saw how bad the plastic problem was. We became completely and utterly obsessed with trying to make a difference. Because my mind is constantly thinking about the future, always. Thinking about the future and strategizing for work is one thing. Thinking about what would happen if I got run over next week is not. I ended up in hospital at 19. I thought I had everything, and I thought I'll never ever get anything like this ever again.
Josh, I find it important to start all my podcasts with the exact same question, because usually it establishes how the rest of the conversation is going to continue. And that question is, are you happy?
Today, I am happy.
Why today?
I think that I'm quite content. I think in the past, you know, it's taken me it's been a long journey to get happy. In all honesty, you know, my journey hasn't been easy. It's been learning from a lot of mistakes in all honesty. But I've had many years of not being happy. And I think that that's a very, very good question. And it's a question that I ask a lot of people, because I think that sometimes people can act like they're happy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually, you know, being honest. But today, I actually do feel happy. And I think that's just because of the work that I've done on myself for the past sort of however many years.
Yeah. Do you think happiness is what we should chase in life?
I definitely do. I think that money and these other sort of materialistic things aren't necessarily ever going to make you happy. I think one of the main things for me was always to find what made me happy. So, you know, Canowater, where does that make me happy? It makes me happy because I know that I'm doing good things for the planet. From, outside of work, I enjoy going to the gym. I feel happy there when I'm in there, or even when I'm sort of in the outdoors. Maybe that could be on a hike or camping with a few mates. And I'm a DJ as well. I'm completely obsessed with music. So, you know, when I'm DJing or I'm listening to music, that's when I'm happy. But chasing materialistic things, whether it be like a car or money or this or that, I've found personally that the excitement is the happy part. But when you get it, it's just sort of like, did it actually make a difference?
Yep.
Not really. That's not what makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. I used to be a DJ as well. And that was one of the reasons why I eventually started this podcast, because I realized I wasn't going to make a living from being a DJ in that sense. So then I started reaching this quarter life crisis, hence the name of the podcast. Like, okay, what am I going to do? Yeah,
very similar to me. Very similar. I always wanted to be a DJ as a kid, literally from the age of 9-10 years old. I got my first pair of decks when I was 11 years old, vinyl, like, you know, proper old school. And very, very, very similar to you. My journey was, I'm not an academic. I'm more of a creative individual. I never thought that I could be in an academic job because I just sort of, I've got quite severe ADHD. So for me, I just sort of ruled anything like that, or even entrepreneurialism. I just ruled that off the table. And DJing for me was something that was, I became completely and utterly obsessed with. Mm-hmm. But very, very similar to you, I got extremely nervous, and this is where happiness, I guess, comes into it. I got extremely nervous that after DJing for a few years, that how am I going to survive for the rest of my life? Because you either become the Calvin Harris, you make serious money. Yeah. And I guess it all comes down to ambition. You know, I know people that haven't got a lot of money, and they, you know, but they're really happy.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's actually really, really nice to see. And then I know people that have got all the money in the world and they're not happy.
Yeah.
So I think that it doesn't matter what you're doing. And I've learned this because I used to sort of DJ and be like, is this it forever? Is this it forever? But I don't think it's about that. I think it's, if you're happy and you're content, it doesn't matter what you do. You can be doing anything. But that is what you said before is a large touch point for me, where I've always been very hard on myself. Like, is this enough? Is this enough? But that doesn't necessarily mean, and I think that you talk about quarter life crisis. You know, it's very interesting actually that that's what the podcast is, because I've had a few of those. You know, I've had a few of those where it's sort of like, shouldn't I be a lot further in life? And I heard someone say something recently, and it's like, stop looking up. Start looking down. And it's so true. Like, you could just look up at, you know, and you'll always find people that have got more money than you and this and that. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy, but look at like what you've got and look at where you've got to, and what other people don't have, and be very appreciative of that. And I feel like in our, in this generation, unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that. They're always chasing, you know, what they see maybe on like on social media or whatever. And I think that's dangerous, because you start to lose a sense of what you've actually got in life.
I feel like that also goes accompanied with, I've talked about that a few times now, but that what you see on social media is only the highlight reel, right? So exactly. And I give the example of my podcast, for example. A lot of people see, I talk to you and I have amazing guests this week, traveling everywhere, this and that. But what they don't see is that I spend 8 weeks behind each other every day, editing behind my laptop, sitting at home, basically doing nothing else in order to make sure you have consistent content. And I mean, the same goes for even the DJ life. And of course, there is a certain magic to it, and I don't deny that. Yeah. But you have to love it if you're willing to push through. Yeah,
for sure. And, you know, my ADHD is one of these things that it stops me from... It's very, very... I find it very hard to concentrate at times, and that's due to the ADHD. And when it comes to things like DJing and Canowater, they've sort of become like extreme passions, because I couldn't sit in an office if I had no interest. So exactly what you said, you know, I have to love it. I have to be, you know, completely 100% in. Otherwise, I'll just sit there and knowing my sort of personality, I'll get extremely bored, and I won't give it my all.
Yeah. It's funny that you name it passion. The reason why is that one of the other guiding research hypotheses I essentially use for this podcast is that passion equals purpose. So I'll basically ask you the question, what are your thoughts on that passion equals purpose?
Well, it's something that I have been sort of talking about for the past 7 years with Canowater. You know, the story of Canowater, if any of your listeners don't know, is we were the first people in the world to put water in a can. And it's very easy for people to sort of just see the product. You know, if you're in the UK or you're in sort of, you know, in and around Europe, you might see the product and think it's strange, or, you know, why am I drinking water out of a can? But you talk about purpose, words like purpose, passion, authenticity. I couldn't agree more. You know, this business was started by myself and my two best friends, who essentially went to Thailand and saw how bad the plastic problem was. We had never seen plastic pollution before. So it wasn't a passion of ours. You know, it wasn't something that we, it wasn't something that we necessarily thought, we're going to do anything about it. But we became completely and utterly obsessed with trying to make a difference. And that's where the word purpose comes in, because it was as if purpose had actually come first, actually, because we felt maybe this is our purpose. You know, maybe this is the thing that we need to do, and we need to raise awareness of. Why is no one doing this? And it was sort of like three guys who had no passion in something, found enormous purpose, and then became so passionate about starting the brand. And then, you know, for the past 6.5 years, my whole world has been around passion and purpose around trying to educate consumers on why aluminium is better than plastic. You know, nearly 75% of all aluminium that was produced in the 1800s is just still in circulation. So every can that you drink from has been thousands, hundreds of thousands of other cans. Whereas, you know, as I'm sure you've seen on the news, plastic downgrades, it gets recycled, you know, a few times, and then it reaches the end of its life cycle. So it can't be another plastic bottle. Whereas a can, it never loses its quality. So when you talk about the business was started from you know, pure passion, and then from a founder perspective, and I speak, you know, I could probably speak for myself and the other two founders, and all of the staff that are downstairs in the office. The thing that gets us up every day is passion, purpose, authenticity, and I think that similarly to what I said before, it's not just sort of getting out of bed and you're just sort of going, you know, just doing another day in the office with no purpose. You're going in and you're making a difference, and you're sort of educating people, whether it's consumers from the marketing side or even from, you know, the sales team are speaking to, you know, large companies out there, talking to them about the benefits. So those two words are enormously ingrained in my everyday life, for sure.
Would you say there's downsides to chasing your passion?
Yeah, I think that, you know, massive risks, especially in what we do. There's been enormous risks. You know, we left our lives to concentrate on this. And
so what did that life look like before this?
Yeah. Nothing too interesting. But yeah, my life was DJing. You know, I was DJing sort of all across the UK at some of the best nightclubs, and for some, you know, really large private events. I still do a little bit of DJing because as a passion, I still love it. Yeah. And then, you know, I was working in events. If you had asked me back then if I was happy, I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing anything that I enjoyed, and I've always felt like someone who I love things that I can help, that help something, that solve a problem. And I think that I learned that through Canowater, that was an extremely big passion of mine. But, you know, my life before Canowater, I was extremely lost. You know, as I said, I suffer severely with ADHD. I've had issues in the past, you know, with addiction. You know, I don't drink alcohol, hence why I love drinking water. And it's extremely important for me to find that happiness, or find a sense of purpose and not feel lost. So it wasn't the biggest risk from I didn't have so much responsibility. It was a big risk because I knew that I'd have to dedicate the next 10 to 15 years of my life on pushing a message that some people have spent the past 30, 40 years pushing, and they haven't been heard. Yeah. So it could have been the same thing. I could have wasted 40 years of my life, well, not wasted, but I could have spent 40 years of my life talking about something and not getting heard. And, you know, I regularly talk about this. So I in the early days of Canowater, I did a sampling session. So I was handing out cans of water to people at Whole Foods, and a lady came over and asked for my autograph, and she was about 60, 65 years old. And I said to her, "Why are you asking for my autograph?" And she was like, "Because I've been speaking about plastic pollution for the past 30 years. No one's heard me. No one's listened to me. But you guys have created an incredible product where people are actually listening to you." And it was just very warming. And I think it's those types of things that's what makes it worth it. Do you know what I mean? It's the journey of Canowater has been really, really tough, really mentally draining days.
Do you have some examples?
Yeah, the first 3 years of Canowater, no one believed in us. No one listened to us, No one believed in the product. No one understood why we're putting water in a can. We sat down with some industry leaders who basically laughed us out of the room. Mm-hmm. Things went wrong every day. We ran out of money. There'll be enormous highs, and then like 50 times lows, and it's just nothing went our way for the first sort of 3 years. And as a founder, I'd find myself like leaving the office like in tears at times, that type of, breaking point. But then something in my mind would be telling me, don't give up. One of the things that ADHD does, and I've definitely been a part of this, I've definitely felt this throughout my whole life, is one of the symptoms of ADHD is never sticking to something. You always get into something and then I'm the type of person that would buy a whole golf outfit, and I'd play golf once, like literally that type of thing. And even DJing, over the years, there had been times where I had started and stopped, and am I really good at this? And this enormous imposter syndrome of like, is it what, am I actually going to get there? And then my mind would put myself down. But I think that
it's like you're holding up a mirror.
Literally, yeah, exactly. And I think that it was incredibly important for me to go on this journey and see it through. Yeah, incredibly important, because I hadn't seen anything through before. Yeah. I'd gone to college, and art was an extreme big passion for me, and I started to do a degree in sculpture, and I couldn't complete that. And then I went to a DJ school, and I couldn't complete that. And it was just sort of like my mind was like, "What's wrong with me? Like, is there something wrong with me?" So. Yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs, but I knew that on this journey...
Did you always know you had ADHD?
From the age of 11.
Okay.
So young.
But could you ever attribute these like sort of...
My whole life. My whole life. Literally since a baby, like I was always different.
Yeah.
Always different. And I wouldn't say that I was competitive, but I always wanted to do great, and I always saw myself as different, and always sort of, if someone, I never wanted to do the norm. I always wanted, like, if someone got that, I wanted something different, and I always it was sort of like I never wanted to follow the crowd. I always wanted to be my own person and be different. Yeah. And I think that's where DJing came into play, because everyone that I know wanted to be like, in banking or this or that. And I was just like, I've got no interest. I want to do something in music, and DJing for me, I became obsessed with how to blend a track together. I'm completely and utterly obsessed with hip hop. So, and that's quite a hard genre to mix. So like I became completely and utterly obsessed with mastering that and then mixing old songs with new songs. So like there'll be times where I would mix like a 60s song with a hip hop, and I just became obsessed with doing something different. So I never just wanted to be like a house DJ or a hip hop DJ. I wanted to be the DJ that could just do everything if I sort of put my mind to it. And similarly to Canowater, very, very similarly to that, when I told my family and friends that I was putting water in a can with my other two mates, they thought that I was an absolute lunatic, and they didn't understand why. And I think it's, going back to the highs and the lows, that's what kept me especially going. I'd go home in tears, and then I would get into bed and I'd be like, all right, tomorrow's another day. We're going to get up. We're getting up and we're doing it.
I have also the exact same experience, then more in relation to the podcast. I feel like that's also one of the downsides actually of chasing your passion, that these highs are much higher and these lows are also much lower.
Yeah. And it's actually about tolerating that, and also learning that it's learning about growth.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I sit down and look at the journey of Canowater. And when I do, it is an extremely emotional roller coaster within like 5-10 minutes, just thinking. An incredible one, by the way. And this is, when you ask about happy, if you had said to me 7-8 years ago that I would be doing what I'm doing today, I would have laughed. If you had put me, said to me I'm doing a podcast, or you had said that I was a Forbes 30 under 30, or that I'd be a well-respected entrepreneur, I would just laugh. Those buzzwords were not in my, were not sort of like in my world, and never would have. If I was, if you asked people that sort of grew up with me, the type of person I was a bit of a crazy guy, and different. And, but that's been my positives as well. I've sort of spun these negatives to positives. And I was talking about it the other day at a school. It's really important to try and find the positives within your negatives, because I've gone through a lot of things in my life, a lot of sort of mental health issues, whether it's myself, my family, and it's really difficult to find the positives in it. But when you do, it's a really freeing thing, because you sort of can look at things in a different way. And we're ingrained to sort of to find the negatives. Just look around the world at the news. You rarely see the positives in things, but in your own journey, if you find those positives from the negatives, you start to look at life in a whole different way, and it's really, really freeing. And I've done about 15 years of work on myself. So I started very, very young at doing, whether it's seeing a therapist, maybe meditating, it could just be going on a walk just to feel better, a daily gratitude list that I don't do every day, but, just to write 10 things that I'm grateful for. These types of things are, when you ask me that question about am I happy, they are the things that enable me to see why I should be happy. Mm-hmm. Because without these things and without working on myself on a daily basis, I could literally I could tell you 500 things this week that have happened that are bad, that are negative, that have been tough. Yep. But then it's about spinning those things into a positive, and the fact that I am where I am today, it just shows the growth, rather than, than thinking of the negatives. I can tell you that I'm better than I was last year. And then last year I was better than I was the year before. Mm-hmm. And I can just tell you that, the trajectory of my inner happiness is better just from working on myself.
How important is that to sort of split up the growth, in the sense that I think a lot of people also who would struggle with their mental health is like, okay, now I'm going to fix it, and by tomorrow I have to be done, right? And by the sounds of it, also what you say, 15 years of work, it sounds like you need to get more into this mindset of, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be 1% better, and the day after that again, and et cetera, et cetera.
One day at a time. That saying of one day at a time. I remember when I was, I suffered from some addiction issues as a kid. I didn't know why I suffered from it. It was a very confusing time of my life. I very much yearned to feel different, and alcohol made me feel different. And with the ADHD, and there was quite a lot of things going on with my family, I just, found it incredibly hard to live life on life's terms, and I needed alcohol to fill the void. And back then I was told, when I stopped drinking, that was the start of my life journey. I would say I was told regularly, just one day at a time, because every time I thought about, oh my God, what about when I went away with my mates? Or what about whenever I projected into the future, it just completely just frazzled me. Yeah. But when I thought about, let's just get through today. Let's get through today. Mm-hmm. And then the next tomorrow, let's just get through tomorrow. But when we're there, because my mind is constantly thinking about the future, always. And there's positives and there's negatives. Think about the future, and strategizing for work is one thing. Thinking about what would happen if I got run over next week is not right, you know, and that is the type of thinking that would go on in my head. What would happen if the business just, you know, what would happen if everything went wrong? There's been plenty of times when I thought about that. We're still here after 7, you know, so I've learned over time that it's better to just think about today. Yeah. Deal with today. And if something goes wrong today, deal with it. Tomorrow's a new day. And from my experience, with that thinking, I have been able to grow. But it is absolutely impossible. It's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym once, nothing's going to change. It's just progressive, you know, and it's consistency. That's the, you know, so when I'm talking before about the old, you know, me, where, you know, the ADHD side of me, where it was that where, as I said, that typical like give up mentality. This is where, if you say to yourself on a daily basis, just one day at a time, you'll end up actually being consistent. The reason why I wouldn't last at things was because I would turn around to myself in my mind. It would be my mind. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? Where's this going to take me? Am I going to be this? Am I going to be that? Worrying about next year. So I think that the it's just one day at a time, small steps. I think that we're in this world where everyone needs things now. I need it now. I need it now. And I listen, I may be completely wrong, but I still believe that slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
If you try and get to the end goal so quick, like, are you satisfied? Like, are you actually, when you get there, are you satisfied? You know, are you, you know, I think that's, for me, it's a process.
Would you say that these things that you have dealt with have made you stronger in the success, or have enabled your successes now within Canowater?
Yeah, I definitely believe it. You know, I think that, from a young age, as I said to you, I've always wanted to help people, whether that was through mental health or through now sort of, you know, sustainability, raising awareness of these things. And
because with Canowater, you use, for example, the Deload barbershop together with Gymshark, right? Yeah. And I feel like there's been a few other campaigns that I'm currently forgetting. You are indeed speaking up for men's mental health, and from what you tell, it sounds like your own experience, you're translating it into the business to also help others in that sense. Yeah, no, for sure. So, you know, I also did a talk last week about mental health for Movember. Listen, personally, I'm extremely passionate about raising awareness, especially around my own experiences, but there's so many people out there that don't know necessarily why they feel the way that they feel. This quarter life crisis, you know, is enormous, where people think that they should be, you know, 30 years ahead of where they are now. And it just doesn't work like that. And you're just going to put strain on your life, and you're going to, you know, you're not going to enjoy life as it's meant to be. And I get that we've only got one life and this and that, but I think that it's incredibly important to concentrate on yourself. And I think that's what a lot of people forget. So that's why I'm passionate about it. But from a Canowater perspective, from the brand, "Don't bottle it" is our slogan. You know, it's literally the heart and core of the brand. The three of us that started the business, you know, we didn't bottle it. We were told by thousands of people, you can't do this, you can't do this. No one's going to drink water in a can, but we didn't bottle it. And, you know, next year, what we're looking at really pushing is championing other people who haven't bottled it, and inspiring others, and also helping people unlock their potential. Yeah. You know, I see on a daily basis some incredible people that are doing things differently, that are not bottling it, but are you know, that are unlocking incredible potential that they never knew that they even had. And I think that's what I love to see. I love to see people who are
really challenging themselves, and they're doing the sort of like, they're turning the can'ts into cans.
Yep.
Excuse the pun. And they're turning the impossible into possible. And, I think, I see some incredible things. And, listen, it massively inspires me. But what I fear is this sense that that life's, mega easy. And on social media, it comes across like everything's mega easy. And it really isn't. There's a saying in like the mental health world, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And it is. It is okay to not be okay, because that's normal. And I think that when you embrace that and when you accept that it's okay to not be okay, then you sort of can relax a little bit, because it's okay that I don't feel okay.
Yeah.
And that's where you start to feel like, that's where you ask the question about becoming stronger. So when I was 16 years old, I entered into a talent contest.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really excited. I wasn't the most confident kid. I actually wasn't. And I got on stage, and I was about to do a rap in front of about 500 people. And I got stage fright, and I literally just fainted on stage. And for the next, even up until now, for the rest of my life, I've been absolutely petrified to speak in front of people, petrified. Mm-hmm. And a few years ago, someone in the business was like, Josh, you need to go and talk at an event or whatever. And I was just, my body, I knew about it 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
Every single day before that moment, I couldn't sleep. I was petrified. I did it. I was sweating and absolutely terrified, but I did it. And after this incredible, overwhelming feeling of like, I've done it and that was okay, it opened up this incredible thing that I'd never felt of. If you overcome something, and if you actually go into something that is out of your comfort zone and you overcome it, that is what enables strength.
Yep.
And that is what enables growth. And the person I was 10 years ago to the person I now is a different person. This is not the same person. And it's because I've stood outside train stations at 4 a.m. handing out cans to people. I've been told to F off in front of, loads of people because I'm like talking about plastic pollution. I've spoken at universities that I never thought I could ever in a million years speak at, next to professors who have challenged me. I have done so many things that are out of my comfort zone. Spoken, I did a Financial Times talk that for 3 months before, I was like, why am I speaking on a Financial Times talk? I'm not a finance guy. And all of these things have basically enabled me.
Do you ever struggle with imposter syndrome when being in those kind of situations?
Enormous. Imposter syndrome, after this, I'm going to speak at a school to some kids, and I've done that loads of times. And I just talk about my story. It's my story, isn't it? It's not like, I'm not an imposter because I'm actually just talking about my life, but my mind will say to me, they don't want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Why are you talking? And it's funny. I only heard about this imposter syndrome really in the past sort of year and a half. It is so rife. It is so rife. I think there's positives about it though. I think that it keeps you, it keeps your ego at bay, which I think is a good thing. It's sort of like, should I do this? Should I not? And I think that's a good thing because, I see certain scenarios where, founders might not have imposter syndrome and they just let loose and it comes across a little bit, arrogant.
Or the hot hand.
Exactly. And it's not like no thinking. Whereas I think about every single thing that I do. It's incredibly important because, I think it's very important to think before you do.
Yep.
You don't want to offend people. Why would you want to offend people? But some people don't think, they just go and they do. But imposter syndrome for me has been an enormous one that I'm still trying to overcome.
Because I'm also trying to understand that a little bit, because it's definitely something that stops a lot of people from chasing their passion to begin with, because they usually think, who am I to talk about this? But I'm starting to sort of see this relationship between the fear of failing and that part is actually essential. And I did a vlog last week in which I speak weekly about what happens in the podcast, And last week I had this realization that actually the fear of failure is what makes your win actually feel like a win.
Yeah.
Because if you would, let's say you're an Olympic runner and you run your round and you win gold, but you would have won gold anyway, you're sort of like, well, what did I do it for then? And I feel like those two are related somehow, this imposter syndrome, and especially if you can overcome
Completely.
it, and sort of this fear of being told by other people, who are you, or something like that.
I agree.
It's all interlinked somehow.
Definitely. I experienced failure at 19 years old. I had an incredible company. It was an events company that I loved, and I built with a friend, and it was phenomenal. And then overnight, some restrictions were put in place in clubs, and the whole business just went. And overnight, I had something that was phenomenal in the music industry as well, working with some incredible people. And then overnight, it just went to nothing, and it really, really, really affected me.
Yeah,
I ended up in hospital. I was in a bad way at 19. I thought I had everything, and I thought I'll never ever get anything like this ever again. And it was my first time where I had experienced failure.
Yeah.
What I thought was failure. Mm-hmm. I was more worried about what other people would think than my own inner thoughts. And what that taught me is you have to embrace that however you can. Maybe not straight away. Maybe you take a bit of time off to concentrate on yourself, talk to people, talk to a therapist, open up, but get back and do it better. Do it better. And I think that's something that I learned. And that's why I'm so grateful to have Canowater in my life and to be doing what I'm doing on a daily basis, because at 19, I was so broken and so lost that I never thought I would have anything else, like another calling. Yeah. So when we sort of started Canowater, it was like, you talk about purpose, it's like, let's go. This is it. And also, don't regret, have no regrets. Everything that I've gone through in my life and everything I've if you said to me, if you could go back and you could change anything, would you? There wouldn't be that much that I would change, because I wouldn't be the person talking to you now without the experience of the things that I'd gone through. And, that's my story, that's my journey. And
so would you then say that you need to embrace these crises?
Yeah. And, it's something that David Goggins, I once read a paragraph from David Goggins. He had a serious, tough upbringing. And one of the things that he said is just go at it head on. Mm-hmm. I've done that. I've done that. I've had periods where I've been really, really, really low. And I've felt like maybe I'm not going to get out of this mindset, and I've actually embraced it. And I'm not going to say I've been so happy, happy, but it's about accepting. This is, there's an incredible guy that I've listened to a few of his podcasts. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name's Mo Gaudat.
I read his book.
Exactly.
I know, yeah.
So, someone like that, I get shivers when I hear him speak, because someone that's gone through incredible trauma and then comes up with his own solution of how to become happy. And it is actually really simple. Can I control it? Is it going to change? No. and it's like it's at that point, what's the point of allowing yourself to wallow on it? You have to find a path. You have to find a route to get to that sort of that next step. And listen, it isn't easy. And for me, it hasn't been easy. As I said, it's been 15 years of pain, of serious pain, mental health battles and pain. But from working on myself, I've really, really found this way where I can sort of turn on this sort of inner, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. What I'm still curious from your story in particular is something that also stops a lot of people from starting is waiting for the perfect moment. Would you say working on yourself and then eventually Canowater obviously came along to a certain extent? It almost sounds like fate, but that's a different story. Would you say you were ready for the Canowater challenge to start when it came along, or?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? From my experience looking back now, there's no right or wrong time. Mm-hmm. Like I hear some people talk about, they're in their 50s and they might want to start up again, and good on them.
Go for
but
it.
they find it very hard because they got a serious amount of responsibility. I mean, my own father, he's started a new business and he's 60, and I said to him the other day, it was a really amazing thing. I said, like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of how incredible it is that you that you went down that route, because he could have easily have just have not gone down that route, and he had to work. So he went down that route, and I get a lot from my dad. He's a very positive, person, even through all the sort of the stuff that my family's gone through. He's been very positive, which is, it's been amazing for me to witness. But I don't think there's any right or wrong. I think for me, it happened. For other people, I think the most important thing is, if you believe in something and you've got like a vision or an opportunity has been presented to you, it's your it's your choice. You've got that choice, and it's your life. I think that is something. It is your life, and you can make that decision whether you do it or you don't do it. And I think that whatever decision you make, you can't go back and say, "Oh, but I should have done this. I should have done that." Mm-hmm. You're on to the next, and another opportunity will present itself. And if you feel like you made the wrong decision, that's just part of your journey. And then you learn the next time to make the right decision.
My girlfriend struggles with that at points as well. And I tell her indeed exactly that quite often, that there is no... A lot of people think there's like one path, right? No. But you don't know what happens if you would have taken the other one. So it's almost stupid to spend too much energy on thinking.
100%. I completely agree, and I think that it's so important. Projection is like so rife in today's society. Getting worried about the future or what something could have been. You'll never know. Yeah. So what is the point? You are where you are today. As I said, concentrate on today, and then you never know what's going to present itself to you tomorrow. And
a story comes to my own mind where one of my first internships that I applied to was at Uber, and I got into like the final stage and then didn't get it, and I was so bummed, like, why not? Super depressed. And then I eventually ended up finding another internship, had a great time. And then 6 months into my actual internship, this news came out that Uber was laying off like 50%, including the interns. So that for me was like,
exactly.
Somehow this was meant to be.
It's meant to be. And I think that's that there is the mentality to have, and to actually believe in it. Yeah. Because you can become very bitter in life. But when you've actually got the mentality of, that's just meant to be. This is where I am. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. You actually start to have more of a sense of just the inner happiness that you want, of just acceptance.
Yep.
It's so important just to have acceptance. Every single person in this world, 8 billion people now, I heard, everyone's different.
Yeah.
No one's the same. Everyone's different. Everyone's on their own path. Everyone's on their own journey. And whatever you do, you know, and whatever you decide to do, you do. And no one could turn around and say it's the right or the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's your life.
Yeah.
And something that I'm extremely passionate about, as I said before, is helping people.
Yeah.
And also helping people, especially with Canowater, with the whole don't bottle it thing, helping people unlock their potential. A lot of people, they don't know how amazing they are. Mm-hmm. They really, really don't. And I have seen some incredible things on my journey of people who never knew that they had the potential, who are now, you know, the most phenomenal people.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we should all be doing, is we should all be trying to add something to the world. It could be anything. It could be donating to charity. It could be, but for me, the thing that's important is if someone comes to me for help, or someone comes to me for advice, or, you know, within the whole brand of Canowater, you know, we can help unlock potential and champion people who haven't bottled it. I actually think that, you know, that they're the things in life, because even if you can help one person realize their potential, I mean, how amazing, how freeing and amazing is that person is going to go on to be something incredible, because you've actually shown them how, you know, the power that they hold, but they don't know that. Because they've got this imposter syndrome as well, just like we all do.
Why do you think we struggle with enjoying those small things, right? Because when you tell that story, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And yet I also know from myself that, cool, I have 2 people I helped.
Yeah.
But it's still not enough.
Yeah.
You know, somehow you're like, okay, I helped 2, so I need to help 4.
Yeah.
I helped 4, so I need to... And it sort of goes on like that.
I tell you what, though, those 2 people that you've helped are probably going to go on to help more people. It's like pay it forward, you know? It's like just the 2 people that you've helped, you might have actually helped now 100 people, because those 2 people have helped another 2 people. And I think it's just, we need to stop being so hard on ourselves. That's it. You know, you help 2 people.
Yeah.
That's better than no people.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
and I think that's the thing, is that we always want more. We always want more as a society. It's you know, it's a great thing, because it's, you know, it shows ambition, but it's also a really sad thing, because it's like you're putting yourself down that you've helped 2 people, but actually you've helped 2 people.
Exactly.
And I think that's the way to look at it. It's incredibly important just to, you know, you've done something. Mm. It's better than not doing something. So I think that it's about, you know, it's about not being hard on ourselves, and it's about just sitting down with yourself, and the gratitude list is massively important. Just writing down 10 things every day of what you're grateful for, because then you actually start to see the greatness.
Yeah, exactly. I had another question prepared, but I think this answers it more or less. It's about, on your website, you have this counter, right? And the amount of minutes you spend on the website, the counter goes up for the amount of plastic pollution that goes into it. And it got me into this interesting thinking, from your perspective, isn't that to some extent demotivating? Because you see, wow, we're working like crazy and you're doing a lot already, and yet this thing is still going up.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it's, you know, it's the passion. It's the passion that drives us of trying to slow that down. You know, since we've started Canowater, you know, one of our vision is to remove 1 billion plastic bottles out of landfill by replacing them with infinitely recyclable cans. And also to inspire other brands. And since we've started Canowater, we've inspired loads of other brands to put water in cans all across the world. And I think that's, you know, we're not going to, Canowater hasn't got the power to stop every single plastic bottle from going into the ocean. But what we do have the power of is raising awareness that aluminium is a lot more recyclable than plastic. And that's going to take a lot more than us. You know, it's going to take a community. It's going to take, you know, you look at veganism, started probably, you know, with a few people, and it's grown and grown and grown. It's the same with the whole plastic thing. And I think that it's all about awareness. And, you know, it's the sad truth. That is it. But we have to raise awareness of these things in order to change it.
Yeah. Helping one person is still better than
Exactly.
Nice. I think I have 2 more questions.
Cool.
About this quarter life crisis. So we've more or less established that you had 1, maybe 2 even.
Yeah.
One of the main questions that I found that I was asking myself was, okay, if music is not my path, what is it then? And I feel like that's what a lot of people have, whether it's finishing school and then sort of still having that, okay, so many roads, which road do I take? Do you have any advice when it comes to choosing this path?
Definitely go down the route of your interests. You know, that's incredibly important. Use music as an example, or for me, it was music and art. I wanted to go down the route of music. It could have been 1,000 things. I tried to become a producer. I could have been a record label. It could have been anything.
Yeah.
For me, I loved the technical side of DJing. And when I DJ'd to crowds, I got this enormous buzz. So it was sort of like, that's what excited me. But there could be 1,000 things with the music, and the same with art. I think one of the most important things is just to, first of all, relax and not get worried, you know, about what it is, because a lot of the time people get so worried at like 18, 19 to like 23, 24. And a lot of people don't even know what they're going to do until they're 30. That's the truth. Yeah. You know, I'm 31. And yeah, I've got Canowater, but you know, there's still things every day that I'm learning about life. But I think when it comes to this path, I think start with what you're interested in. It could be anything. It could be, you know, you watch a lot of movies, so you like movies. It could be, you know, exactly what you're doing now, you know, podcasts, talking to people, helping people, raising awareness of a quarter life crisis, because no one's ever heard of a quarter life crisis. They've only heard of a midlife crisis. You know, these are the things that sometimes it just falls in your lap. Sometimes it's sort of like a relationship. Sometimes it's like, sometimes when you look for it, you don't find it. Sometimes it just naturally happens and just falls in your lap. It's just there, and you're sort of like, how did this happen? Sometimes you just have to live and let things just naturally happen. Yeah. My experience as someone who as an extreme warrior, my experience is I wish that I didn't get so worried as a kid about my future, because I was someone that was never meant to be where I am today. I was someone that was never, you know, with my addiction and my ADHD, was never sort of like your typical, you know, entrepreneur or someone that is, you know, doing what I'm doing, whether it be DJing or whatever. You know, I was the type of person that would probably have had all of that stripped away from me if I ever got there, type of thing. And I worried so much about all of it. And it's actually just been a really, you know, it hasn't been easy, but it's been a path that has sort of come to me just from not really, just from passion. Yeah. You know, and I think that sometimes the path is just what life throws at you. Yeah. Not what you know, some people have the path. Yeah. My fiance is a pharmacist. She's always wanted to be a pharmacist. She works in a pharmacy. She studied at King's. She's extremely clever. She is someone whose path has been sort of set since, you know, as from a pure passion of wanting to help people within being a pharmacist. Yeah. Whether she'll always do that, we don't know. But today, she's a pharmacist. Yeah. You know. But for the people like myself who are scared and confused, sometimes the roadmap isn't necessarily just in front of your face. But if you go from your passion, which mine was music, and you know, you could argue Canowater is a bit of an art from creativity, but I think that, you know, go down that route. Mm-hmm. Explore the routes that you enjoy doing, and as I said, it could be it could be in anything. There's so much opportunity out there, where, you know, as I said, you're doing a podcast. You could, if you'd said to someone 15 years ago, I'm doing a podcast, they'd be like, what? But, you know, the opportunity is out there to start new things.
Yeah.
Just got to just sit down and have a little sort of think, maybe talk to others, open up.
Yeah.
Brainstorm. For me, brainstorming's massive. I come up with my best ideas when I'm sitting with my team and just brainstorming.
Right. On to the last question already. And that question is, what does the future hold for Josh?
You know, just try and stay on the same path, not run before I can walk. Accept that what will be. Inspire others and help others, you know, really believe in themselves. It's something that, you know, throughout my whole life is going to be an enormous passion for me. And, you know, try not to be too hard on myself, you know, is a massive thing. And just, yeah, you know, as you asked me at the beginning, stay happy and chase the right things rather than the wrong things. I think that's the key to for me, as I said at the beginning, that's the key to staying happy. So it was a really good question to walk into, because happiness is the key.
Yeah.
And as I said to you, I know some people that have got no money, but they're happy because they've found the things that make them happy. And that's what I aspire to be, is to be happy without any materialistic things, but just be happy from a place of love and you know, from a place of where I can, you know, as I said, for me, it could be on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. And as long as I sort of can look around and be like, wow, this, you know, I'm happy, that there's no feeling, you know, no better feeling than that.
Yeah. That brings it delightfully full circle, I think.
Definitely.
I want to thank you for your openness today. It's truly very appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.